The loudest people chase attention, but the most powerful ones chase alignment. There is something different about the way she carries herself. She doesn't announce her plans. She doesn't seek validation before taking action. She moves quietly, but every move is calculated. Not cold, not distant, just disciplined. She knows where she is going, and that clarity eliminates the need for constant explanation. Most people confuse activity with progress. They fill their days with noise, conversations, reactions, and endless distractions, believing that being busy means being effective. But she sees through that illusion. She understands that real progress often looks quiet. It looks like focus. It looks like consistency. It looks like doing the same small things with precision until they compound into something undeniable. Purpose demands sacrifice. It demands saying no to what feels good in the moment for what matters in the long run. And that is where most people fall apart. They choose noise because it is easier. It is easier to talk about dreams than to build them in silence. It is easier to seek approval than to stand alone in conviction. But she is different. She is willing to be misunderstood if it means staying aligned with her path. She doesn't react to every opportunity. She evaluates. She filters. She asks one simple question. Does this move me closer to who I am becoming? Or does it pull me away? And if the answer is unclear, she waits. Because waiting with intention is more powerful than moving without direction, there is strength in her restraint. She doesn't feel the need to prove her worth in every room. She doesn't compete for attention. She doesn't measure herself against noise. Instead, she measures herself against her own standards. And those standards are built on growth, not comparison. People often underestimate her because she is not loud. They mistake her calm for passivity, her silence for hesitation. But what they don't see is the internal engine driving her forward. They don't see the discipline it takes to stay focused when distractions are everywhere. They don't see the clarity it takes to say no when everyone else is saying yes. And that is where her advantage lies. Because while others are busy being noticed, she is busy building something that cannot be ignored. She is refining her skills, strengthening her mindset, and aligning her actions with her vision. By the time the world starts to pay attention, she is already ahead. Purpose doesn't need noise to be powerful. It needs consistency. It needs clarity. It needs the courage to move differently when everyone else is moving the same. She doesn't chase the spotlight. She builds a life that attracts it naturally. And when her results begin to show, they speak louder than anything she could have said. Most people are controlled by their emotions, but the rare ones learn to control their emotions and shape their reality. There's a difference between reacting and responding. Reaction is instant, unfiltered, driven by instinct. Response is intentional, measured, chosen. She lives in that space between stimulus and action. That pause is where her power exists. It is where she separates herself from chaos. She feels deeply. She experiences frustration, anger, disappointment, and doubt just like anyone else. But she doesn't allow those emotions to dictate her behavior. She observes them. She questions them. She understands that not every emotion deserves expression, and not every feeling reflects truth. In moments of pressure, when others lose control, she becomes even more composed. Not because the situation is easy, but because she has trained herself to remain steady. She knows that losing control doesn't solve anything. It only multiplies the damage. So she chooses calm even when it is difficult, especially when it is difficult. This kind of discipline is built over time. It comes from facing situations where reacting would have been easier, but choosing restraint instead. It comes from learning the cost of emotional decisions and deciding that clarity is worth more than temporary relief. Most people give their power away without realizing it. They let other people's words dictate their mood. They let external circumstances define their state of mind. But she sees that pattern clearly. She refuses to hand over control of her internal world to external noise. She understands that emotional control is not suppression. It is not about ignoring feelings or pretending they don't exist. It is about processing them without becoming them. It is about creating space between what happens and how she chooses to respond. There is strength in that space. It allows her to think clearly when others are clouded. It allows her to make decisions based on logic, not temporary emotion. It allows her to stay aligned with her values, even when the situation tries to pull her away. People often misunderstand her calmness. They think she is unaffected. They think she doesn't care. But the truth is the opposite. She cares deeply, which is why she protects her energy. She knows that uncontrolled emotions can destroy relationships, opportunities, and progress. So she guards her reactions with intention. Over time, this control becomes her advantage. While others burn out from emotional highs and lows, she remains consistent. While others make decisions they regret, she moves with clarity. While others are distracted by drama, she stays focused on what matters. Emotional control allows her to see situations for what they are, not what they feel like in the moment. It gives her perspective, it gives her patience, it gives her the ability to rise above situations that would consume others. And in a world driven by reaction, her ability to remain composed makes her unstoppable. She doesn't eliminate emotion, she elevates it into strength. What the world praises is visible success, but what truly shapes power is the unseen discipline behind it. There's a different kind of courage required to grow in silence. It means continuing when there is no recognition. It means improving when no one is watching. It means trusting a process that does not offer instant rewards. Most people struggle with this because they are conditioned to seek validation. They want proof that their effort matters. They want confirmation that they are on the right path. But she doesn't rely on that. She creates her own standard. She measures her progress against who she was yesterday, not against what others are doing today. That shift alone changes everything. It removes comparison. It removes distraction. It brings her back to the only thing that truly matters, her own evolution. In the shadows, she refines herself. She works on her mindset, her habits, her discipline. She confronts her weaknesses without the need to hide them behind performance. She is honest with herself in a way most people avoid. And that honesty becomes the foundation of her strength. There is no shortcut here, no instant transformation, just consistent effort repeated over time. Small actions done daily without applause. This is where resilience is built. This is where character is formed. This is where she becomes someone unshakable. People often underestimate what they cannot see. They judge based on what is visible, assuming that success appears suddenly. But they don't witness the early mornings, the late nights, the moments of doubt she had to overcome. They don't see the discipline it takes to keep going when stopping would be easier, and that is her advantage. Because while others are focused on being seen, she is focused on becoming. She is not distracted by attention, she is committed to growth. She understands that visibility without substance is fragile, but strength built in silence is unbreakable. There are moments when the shadows feel heavy, moments when progress feels slow, moments when it seems like nothing is changing. This is where most people give up. They step back into the light too early, seeking reassurance instead of continuing the work. But she stays. She continues. She trusts that every effort, no matter how small, is adding up. She knows that growth is not always obvious in the moment, but it is always happening beneath the surface. Over time, something shifts. The work she has done in silence begins to show. Not in loud announcements, but in quiet confidence, in the way she carries herself, in the way she handles challenges, in the way she no longer reacts the same way she used to. By the time the world notices, she is already transformed. Not because of one big moment, but because of countless small ones no one ever saw. She does not rush the process. She respects it. Most people try to be accepted by the room, but the rare ones elevate themselves until the room adjusts to them. There is a quiet confidence in the way she moves. It is not loud, not forced, not performative. It does not demand attention, yet it naturally draws it. This is not accidental. It is built. It comes from knowing her values, her standards, and refusing to lower them for comfort or approval. Most people walk into rooms looking for signals, who to impress, who to agree with, how to adapt. They adjust their tone, their opinions, their identity just to feel included. But she does the opposite. She walks in already aligned. She does not bend to match the environment. She evaluates whether the environment matches her. That shift changes everything. It places her in a position of choice instead of need. She is not there to be accepted. She is there to observe, to contribute, to decide if the space deserves her energy. And that mindset creates a different kind of power, one that is not dependent on others. She does not chase validation because she has already defined her worth. Her standards are not influenced by trends, opinions, or external pressure. They are rooted in something deeper, self-respect. And self-respect is not negotiable. There is a discipline in maintaining that standard. It means walking away from opportunities that compromise her values. It means staying silent when speaking would dilute her message. It means standing alone at times, knowing that alignment is more important than approval. People often misinterpret. They see her distance and call it arrogance. They see her selectiveness and call it attitude. But what they fail to understand is that she is not trying to be above anyone. She is simply unwilling to be below her own standards. She knows that every time she lowers her expectations to fit in, she loses a part of herself. And over time, those small compromises become a pattern. So she chooses differently. She protects her identity with the same intensity others use to protect their image. And because of that, something remarkable happens. The same rooms that once overlooked her begin to notice her. The same people who once ignored her begin to respect her. Not because she demanded it, but because she embodied something they could not ignore. Standards have a silent influence. They shift conversations, they raise expectations, they create a new baseline without ever needing to announce it. And when someone consistently lives by their standards, they become a reference point for others. She does not force change, she represents it. Through her actions, her boundaries, her consistency, she sets a tone that others either rise to or fall away from. Over time, the need to seek the right room disappears, because wherever she goes, the standard goes with her. She is not looking for a place to belong. She is defining what belonging looks like. The more selective you are with your words, the more powerful they become when you finally speak. Most people dilute their voice by overusing it. They speak to fill space, to prove a point, to be noticed. But in doing so, they lose impact. Their words blend into the background, becoming just another layer of noise. She understands this. She understands that value is created through scarcity, that when something is constant, it is often ignored. But when something is intentional, it becomes undeniable. Her silence has never been empty. It has been preparation. Every moment she chose not to speak was a moment she chose to observe, to learn, to refine her thoughts. So when she finally does speak, her words are not rushed or scattered. They are clear, focused, aligned with truth. There is a weight to her voice, not because it is loud, but because it is grounded. It carries the depth of everything she has processed in silence. It reflects understanding, not assumption. And that difference is felt immediately. People notice the shift when she speaks. Conversations slow down, distractions fade. There is an unspoken awareness that what she is about to say matters. This is not something that can be forced. It cannot be achieved through volume or repetition. It is built over time through consistency, through discipline, through knowing when not to speak. She does not use words carelessly. She knows that once spoken, they cannot be taken back, so she chooses them with precision. She says what needs to be said, not what is expected to be said. And that honesty, that clarity creates trust. Trust is what amplifies her voice, because people know she is not speaking for attention. She is not speaking to impress. She is speaking because there is something worth saying, and that intention makes all the difference. There are moments when speaking would be easier, moments where staying silent might feel uncomfortable, but she does not confuse silence with fear, and she does not confuse speaking with strength. She understands timing, she understands impact, and she understands that the right words at the right moment can change everything. When she speaks, she does not over-explain. She does not chase agreement. She delivers her message and allows it to stand on its own. That confidence creates space for her words to resonate. It invites others to think, to reflect, to engage on a deeper level. Over time, her voice becomes something people remember. Not because of how often they hear it, but because of how it makes them feel when they do. It challenges, it clarifies, it shifts perspectives. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, she becomes someone worth listening to. Her power was never in how much she said, but in the meaning behind every word she chose to speak.